hadn't thought to ask in my rapid-fire briefing from Gary and Phil. On the upside, the high-pitched wail erupting from my enemy confirmed that one useful fact: vampires certainly had nuts. Speaking of nuts, a toasty aroma filled the halls as smoke puffed out from under my target's collar. Maybe I ate too much garlic, or the steak really did hit him. No, the smoke clearly poured out of a wound on the side of his neck, a burn in the pattern of a plate. It was at that moment I felt quite a bit of warmth radiating from my skull. Oh God, was I on fire too? "Holy shit, Jessie!" Gary's familiar voice called from the end of the corridor. "Are you on fire?" I so hated being right. "What are you?" the vampire cried, his previous snark gone. He clawed at his own throat as the smoldering wound began to burn. I... "That's quite enough," another familiar voice said. The monster was engulfed in a pillar of flame the moment the raspy voice spat out those words. I gulped as the vampire exploded into a pile of ash. Amidst the flames, a cigarette snapped into the center mass, and as the flare-up died out, the lanky, exaggerated silhouette of a woman I'd come to fear filled my view. "You know, smoking isn't allowed on campus, Aunt Phil," Gary said, running towards us. Philomena Bates, Phil as she insisted on being called, rolled her eyes and gave a wry smile. "What are you gonna do, Gare Bear? Report me?" "No, but you might want to run," I replied as the fire alarm blared and the sprinklers dropped their load. I could hear her rapid-fire swearing as we made a beeline for the west exit. Phil glowered as we burst into the parking lot. "Why exactly are we running?" "You set off the sprinklers." She let out a deep sigh, then grabbed both my arm and Gary's. The world started to shimmer and get all swirly, like we were in a movie flashback. "You have so much to learn, girl," Phil said, before everything got even weirder. Yes, weirder than fighting a vampire in my high school, or having hair that glowed, or even seeing a fireball turn said creature into nothing more than an annoyance for the new janitor. In the blink of an eye, I'd gone from homeroom to the rooftop of a warehouse, and boy, it took all my effort to keep my pre-skirmish bag of pork rinds from spewing all over the tar paper. Did we just go bamf? Holy nightcrawler, Batman! That was not pleasant. Gary plopped onto the ledge at the edge of the roof, shaking his head while Phil continued to give him a withering glare. Then she turned to me, her runny makeup and limp platinum hair further amplifying her severe look. Unfortunately, I had no ability to teleport off the roof. That I knew of, anyway. And somehow doubted glowing hair would protect me from a 5-story drop. Mercifully, her face softened and she actually smiled as she approached. "Congratulations, Jessie. You survived your first tussle with the supernatural." "She probably wished it was Sam and Dean," Gary muttered. I did the only mature thing and flipped him the bird. Phil proceeded as if nothing had happened. "You might be the chosen one, but believe me, you still have a lot to learn." She lit a fresh cigarette, this time using a flame that flicked off the tip of her index finger. "Well, could you at least tell me one thing first?" Phil smiled as warmly as she could, considering the obvious amounts of Botox plumping her features. "Anything for you, dearie." "If I'm the chosen one, who exactly chose me?" Chapter 1. A Crank Call from Destiny. I never expected to end up bruised and shaking on the roof of a warehouse, with neon hair and a higher calling, but then who wakes up one day and checks off superhero on their bucket list? I know when it all started. Well, at least when I finally noticed the weirdness. And no, it was not some puberty thing. It all began in a rather innocuous 4th period AP physics class, although at the time I was far more concerned with the dashing profile of our varsity quarterback. Tony Castorini was that rare combo of brain and bronze, an all-star on the field who could write a lab report without beating up some freshman nerd to do it for him.